Hello everybody, today we are visiting a tiny little historic dock in Flintshire that is still used today for cockles, which you can see a little symbol of which behind me, but it also has links to Anglesey, Liverpool and, very sadly, the slave trade. There will always have been a natural harbour here, but it wasn't until the 1700s that it started being kind of substantially developed into a dock. And then in the 1780s, that's when it really started to see an awful lot more action. And although the stream here was very powerful, what they did was build a dam across it here, and then made a kind of a reservoir in this area here, the actual estuaries that way. And then inside the dam there was a sluice gate, and at low tide the sluice gate would be opened, the water would run through and then almost like wash out all of the grit and build up in the harbour and kind of clear it out, ready for high tide for the boats to get back in afterwards. And we know from records that there were a lot of companies who kind of rented sections of the wharf and had little buildings around the area too. We're at Greenfield Dock, that is just down the hill from Holywell in Flintshire, and it was once one of the busiest ports on the Dee River. It was bustling, full of activity, and one of the reasons why is because the Greenfield Valley, just going up the road towards Holywell, had a very fast flowing stream, the Holywell stream, and that helped factories develop that were producing cotton and copper. And so this is where the vessels came in and out. And from the 1700s, at one time there were up to 40 vessels shipping cargo in and out from this tiny little port every day. So some of that cargo would have been copper, and that would have been found on Anglesey, at Amlwch, at Paris Mountain, smelted, then brought over here to be worked. And this was a key thing in linking Flintshire with the slave trade. So they would have produced copper here, they would have shipped it off to, say, Africa, where they'd have traded that copper for people. They would have taken people, used them as currency, and taken them off to America or the West Indies, where they were traded them again for things that Britain wanted. So let's say cotton. So cotton actually might have ended up back here and then been used in the mills here at Greenfield Valley, or for things like rum and tobacco, things that we wanted. And this was called the triangular trade. And it wasn't until 1807, when the abolition of the slave trade came in, that this stopped happening. So in the 1800s, the quay here was used for much nicer things. So we know in 1802 that there was a sailing ship that took passengers from here to Chester and Parkgate on the Wirral, just across the way. And we know that in 1857, there was a steamship that brought passengers from Liverpool to here. One of the reasons being is that Holywell is a great place of pilgrimage. I don't know how many videos I've talked about St Winifred, but her legend and tales and her miraculous well is located here in Holywell. So an awful lot of people would have come here looking for guidance, spirituality, healing. So a very, very important place to be. But also the tourism trade was starting to boom by then too. And so behind me here, you can see the eastern part wall of the dock here. And at one point, they would have had 6 railway tracks for loading the cargo from the more industrial side of things here, in and out from the factories too. But it was actually, I'd say maybe it was the railways that were the beginning of the downfall of the quay here, that they just didn't need to use the boats so much anymore. And it wasn't long after that the railway lines were taken up and disused. And so with the coming of the railways here in 1848, the shipping trade really started to decline. And then one of the major businesses here ceased trading. That really was the final nail in the coffin, because it didn't seem as necessary to justify the upkeep of the quay. And so now it's more of a place of leisure and tourism, but it does still have businesses here. So there are a number of businesses, 50 licenses that allow people to come and do cockling, to gather cockles between the months of July and December. And also fishing too, so you can still see the remains of some of the fishing boats here too. And it is a nice place to come and have a stroll with the family, as you can see, and enjoy the views over to the North Wales coast, Wirral, and Merseyside. If you've enjoyed this video, please do click on subscribe, and then you'll get a little notification next time I upload one of my videos. Thanks, bye bye.